Well, it's Tuesday, and you all know what that means. As you probably know right about now, we are now going to be reviewing NXT. As you probably can guess, we're coming up from major events that took place. As you know, they had No Mercy crowning a brand new NXT champion, but we walked in, of course, to the NXT versus TNA showdown event that took place last week. But we all know what happened, and then, of course, Trick Williams lost the TNA World title to Mike Santana. But the real question we ask ourselves, where do we go from here from three major events that took place? We will be seeing what took place in this week's NXT. But first things first, we're going to be reviewing two back-to-back shows from ChocoPro. The first one is ChocoPro number 479, New Dawn, one of the big shows at the Itabashi Green Hall. It's not a big venue, but it's a venue. And then of course they go back to Ichigaya Square for number 480 with of course 3 matches. So we're going to be going from A to Z on both shows. And then as always, we will cap up our episode as usual with some news updates to give you guys updates on what's been happening in the world of wrestling, such as what events the promotions are thrown out, who's booked, what matches are set, including developments that are happening in the world of wrestling as we speak. So, let's get ready for another episode of the Deleted Wrestle Zone.
Are you ready? Get up, get up! 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 Get up, get up!
Hey everyone, welcome to the Deleted Wrestle Zone. All things that is pro wrestling with AEW, NXT, New Japan Pro Wrestling, TNA, the National Wrestling Alliance, various promotions, wrestlers, matches, and championships. I am your host, J-Rod here. So, if you are new to the channel, welcome. This is a channel we do a lot of pro wrestling reviews from various promotions, not only here in the United States, but also in Japan, Mexico, Canada, Europe, the UK. Anywhere in the world pro wrestling is not as big, but it continues to grow. We also, of course, do discussion videos, talk about various topics such as the wrestlers themselves, the promotions, factions, storylines, whatever we want to talk about. We also, of course, do more news updates. If certain information was unable to be on this episode, we can either put it on the next one or on a separate video by itself. We also, of course, do real-time news updates to keep you guys on alert if something has happened in the world of wrestling that needs to be addressed ASAP. We also, of course, got to Nagi Sayaka Watch and various other cool wrestling content as well. So if you like what you see, please subscribe to us or click on that subscribe button. You'll be getting a lot of daily reviews and other cool wrestling content as well. But if you like this episode, please give us a like on the like button or a nice comment in the description down below. Now, enough with the yapping. It's time to boogie. So let's begin with ChocoPro number 479, New Dawn. Okay, ChocoPro number 479, New Dawn. This is one of their big shows. Well, it's not in a big venue. They have done this venue many times back then when they were known as Got to Move back in the day. And this venue was the Itabashi Green Hall, which is a small venue, but also plenty promotions of the events like DDT, Gambari, Tokyo Pro, and a few others, but nonetheless, it was a venue. Now, of course, we had the performance opening up is Mei Suruga and her friends, Kaho, Chi, and Hiroyi were helping her out. But our first match, of course, we have a 6-person tag match. We have Kaho Hiromi. She teams up with the Egg Tarts, Chiko Shikawa and Hagane Shino. They take on Irikane and Tokyo Kihara and Shuichiro Katsumura. So if you guys don't know who that guy is, he is from Gambara Pro, former champion, singles and tag team competitor. But however, many of you might have thought in some capacity that because there's like an experienced wrestler, it would have been the prime factor of that. But no, it wasn't. Chi was able to pick up the win when she pinned Tokiko, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, we have tag team action. We got the Best Bros, Mei Shruga and Balinaki, taking on the combined forces of Yu and Coyote Yonayama. Now, of course, Yu is not someone it's easy to take down. She's a big girl, and that's always been a good factor of her. She's big, she's strong. Of course, one thing about Mei, she is stubborn as hell. She doesn't care how big you are as long as she tries. That's always been. I mean, she done it with Hoshi Tango, who likes to criticize, you're shorter than me, that's why. But it doesn't stop her. I mean, you can tell Mei, she's big. That's the thing. She just wouldn't care. But unfortunately, that may have cost her because her tag partner, Balinaki, ended up on the O'Connor roll by Coyote Yonayama. And just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, we have singles action. We have Hiroya Wada taking on Sayaka Obihiro, also known as Obi. So it was nothing too special. Now, we know there have been some indications about these two teaming up because I know Sayaka has been trying to get her, to, how do I say, evolve her wrestling craft, and that's something she had tried many times, but not yet. She hasn't reached that full potential just yet. But unfortunately, she ended up being taken out by Obi with her usual unorthodox methods, as I like to call Obi magic, and that plays out pretty well for her. And that happened when she pinned her. 1, 2, 3, done. Now, our next match, we have an interesting tag team combination. Hold on, let me take this off. Much better. Anyway, we have a combination of Akari. Many of you may see her from Pure J. She teams up with Miya Yatsuba and Soy. They take on Hanako Nakamura and Sayaka and Makoto, better known as the Bellflowers, are current Asian Dream Tag Team Champions. So practically, you probably would guess there's gonna be some interesting moments. I mean, we know that Makoto has dealt with Akari in the past whenever she goes to her territory, but in this case, it was Makoto who picked up the win on Miya, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now, our main event is for the Super Asian Championship. Rina Yamashita makes her first defense against Antonio Honda. Now, I know Honda has been making this move for a while, the challenge for this belt, which finally came into fruition. But the one thing, of course, Rina had to be more careful is the usual shenanigans that Antonio Honda brings into the table, like going timeout and then start telling stories, that sort of thing. But however, that did not stop Rina Yamashita until she put him in the splash mountain, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. She retained the championship. However, during the post show, of course, the general manager Aoi Kizuki announced that their big show will take place on October 30, which is the 30th anniversary of Emi Sakura, and she did announce two matches that will take place. The first one is, of course, well, this is going to be at the Shinjuku Face, in case anybody asks. She did mention that Rio will be facing Miya Yatsuba, which is going to be a huge thing for her because, not to mention, for many of you who don't know this, Rio was the first ever Super Asian champion, and of course the first ever AEW Women's champion, which is cool. And now Miya has to face with someone who has a much better reputation, but don't let the size fool you. And of course, Mei Shruga was announced that she'll be facing Azumi, someone, of course, she had faced one-on-one and teamed in the past. And this is going to be maybe part 2, I'm not sure. But yes, it's going to be a hell of a show. Can't wait to see it. So that's pretty much what happened on ChocoPro 479. So let's move on to the next one, 480. Okay, we continue with one more review from ChocoPro. This is number 480, and this is back in Ichigaya Square, in case anybody asks. This took place recently on the 11th of October. Now, I kind of forgot to fail that the last ChocoPro took place on October 5th. I forgot to mention that. But anyway, this is what really happened. Of course, we had Balin Aki open up the show to greet the fans and give the info on what matches is going to happen for the event. And of course, that's what it is. Now, we opened up with tag team action. We have Irikane teaming up with Chiko Shikawa. They take on Kao Hiromi and Sayaka. So that's going to be an interesting match. But I want to say this: it is great to see Irikane wrestle again. For many who don't know, she was injured. But however, due to her injury, she was able to, of course, to help out in the venue. Like, for example, participate in doing the opening of the show. Not to mention, of course, participate in the Jonkin tournaments whenever she's available, that sort of thing. And I thought it was a great thing. And now she's back in the ring. But some people could ask, how much ring rust does she have? Well, I mean, she's full of, what she does. But however, she has to face against a team where it's a very interesting makeshift. We have Kao Hiromi, who's a bit of a child, and you don't want to be pulling her usual tricks, which makes her cute and adorable. And then she faces Smiley Violence, of course, one half of the Asian Dream Tag Team Champion Sayaka, which of course plays out pretty well. But in the end, it was Sayaka that was able to pin Iri, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Our next match, we have, of course, Hiroi Iwata and Sayaka Obihiro taking on Balinaki and Mei Suga, aka the Best Bros. And it's interesting to see Obi and Hiroi team up because, as you know, recently they faced off each other as opponents. But the real question is, how will the tag team cohesion would factor into this? Because they're facing a team that are totally equal, they're totally cohesion, and they work very, very well, despite of their personalities. Mei being a bit, doing her usual shenanigans, Balinaki throwing to be aggressive, but he also tries to be, the voice of reasons at certain moments. But that's how it is. But in this case, Mei Suga was able to pin Hiroi, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, Best Bros won the match. Now our next match, we have Tokiko Kihara taking on Rina Yamashita in a non-title match. Remember, folks, Rina Yamashita is the current Super Asian champion, and that means she is the top. However, the title is not on the line. But if Tokiko was able to, of course, to pick up a win, more than likely she could challenge it. But of course, with Rina Yamashita, she's aggressive, she's far more dangerous, and she knows exactly what she's doing because she has far more better experience than Tokiko, despite of the age factors. For those who've forgotten, Tokiko is in her 40s and Rina is in her 30s, so you can tell. But in the end, it was, of course, Rina Yamashita with a diving body press, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, it was over. Now for a Jonkin tournament, one thing I wasn't too sure where it's going to go. It ended with Chiko Shikawa winning once again, but she beat, of course, the current Super Asian champion in the runner-up. So basically, she beat it out and got her piece of chocolate, and that's how things end in ChocoPro and Ichigaya Square. So we'll see what happens the next time. But as of right now, we are done with both ChocoPro events. Let's move on with our last and final review, NXT. Okay, final review, NXT. We opened up with Ricky Saints doing a promo. Now, it doesn't take a genius about what this promo is about. If you saw what happened last week, you saw that Ricky Saints had to witness Trick Williams, who's trying to act like he is the bigger star. Well, he walked out on him during the NXT TNA showdown, which cost NXT the match. Now, of course, Ricky Saints being the current NXT champion, it doesn't take a genius to figure it out that possibly Trick Williams is feeling envy or jealousy that Ricky Saints is the current NXT champion because, of course, Trick Williams had failed to put down Obafemi. But, of course, Ricky Saints wants a piece of him. So, he put the gauntlet down and set it Halloween Havoc. So, we'll see where it goes from there. Now, Javon Evans and Leon Slater, two young, talented wrestlers. Well, let's just say they were not happy with the fact that in the last 5 minutes they were given to them in that time limit draw or whatever back on TNA Bound for Glory, they were not happy with the fact that Dark State ruined that moment. But of course they're gonna go, yo, you know I had you right where got you. Oh hell no, man! I thought it was great. But however, of course, Dark State was still in their mind. But luckily, the double champions, NXT Tag Team Champion and TNA, and one of the greatest tag teams of all times, the Hardys, go out. Hey, don't worry, guys. You know that message was for us. One, Leon, you learned a lot from us. You've always admired us, so we took you under our wing, and they know it. Javon Evans, you are a fellow North Carolina like us. It makes no secret about that. So basically, there's that. And of course, you know, both Leon and Javon Evans are like, look, if you guys need our help, we got your back. So basically, they appreciate that. So I have to say that the Hardys gave both two young, talented wrestlers some good advice. Now, our first match, of course, we have Matt Cardona versus Josh Briggs. Now, if you saw what happened 2 weeks ago, Josh Briggs was not happy that Matt Cardona cost him a spot in the NXT TNA match for the Survivor Series and Showdown. So he did ask for this match against Matt Cardona, which he got. Now, of course, Josh Briggs was intending to use the chain, but however, it was stopped until, of course, Josh Briggs was able to apply the big boot, and just like that, 1, 2, 3, done. Now, we did see, of course, Hank and Tank along with the members of Chase U, Uriah Connors, Kale Dixon, and Andre Chase having a chat with, of course, with Tatum Paxley, talking about who's going to be the next people after, of course, the rematch between the Hardys and Dark State. But Tatum was not interested in that much. She was just looking for Tatum Paxley until, of course, Tatum Paxley was interrupted by Izzy Dame and the rest of the culling. But of course, there was a three-way match that took place that was requested by Hank and Tank about it. So it's going to be Hank and Tank versus Chase U versus the Culling. So that's going to be a good match. Now, our next match, we have Hijo de Dr. Wagner taking on Lexus King. As you know, Lexus King runs his mouth too much, and sometimes that gets him in big trouble, unless he finds a way to overcome whatever he started. But unfortunately, he was not successful against a third-generation wrestler like Wagner. He applied the Wagner driver, or many of you know it as the Michinoku driver. He wiped him out, and then 1, 2, 3, it's over. However, of course, Dr. Wagner put the gauntlet down and challenged Ethan Page for the North American Championship in Halloween Havoc in a Días de los Muertos match. Or if you guys don't know, in translation, Day of the Dead. So that's going to be a lot of fun. Now, as you probably know, they're looking for a #1 contender for, of course, the NXT Women's Championship. So Zaria and Soruka have been added into this whole battle royal. So we'll get to that a little bit because it's the main event. Now, our next, we did see a little segment where Santino Marella and Ava Reigns, General Manager Ava, were talking with the young boys, Leon Slater and Javon Evans, talking about that they want to have a match, which of course it's what they want, until they were interrupted by Stax and Ariana. But of course, Leon Slater is going to take them on next week. But however, while they were just negotiating this match, well, Ricky Saints was brutally attacked by Trick Williams. So it's no secret now that this is going to happen. Trick Williams wants the NXT title, and he'll challenge Ricky Saints at, of course, Halloween Havoc. Now, our next match is Blake Monroe versus Zaria. Well, you can tell that this match was going to be very intense. But however, Blake Monroe was intending to use a chair, and she was able to overcome that. When, of course, the thing that was insane is she pulled out something out of her shoe or whatever, and she used that on her, on Zarya, while Soruka was able to get the chair out, and things got out of hand. And just like that, later Blake Monroe applied the beauty shot, and then 1, 2, 3, it was done. Now, our next match, we have Hank and Tank versus Uriah Connors, Cale Dixon of Chase U, and of course the Culling, Sean Spears and Nico Vance. Now, of course, the match was going intense as much as possible, but of course, many of you would have assumed in some capacity that things were not going to go according to plan, because out of nowhere, OTM just came back. It looks more like they came back with a vengeance, because they want to put the entire tag team division on notice. I wouldn't be surprised if OTM wants to be the ones to become the next NXT Tag Team Champions. Now, we did see Zarya getting checked out after what happened, so it seems things are not going well for both Zarya and Soruka after what they've been going through. So, and then of course, Dark State out of nowhere attacked the Hardys, sending a direct message to them. Because they're not happy with the fact they lost the tag team belts towards them. But we'll see what happens until then. Now, our main event is the NXT women's title in a #1 contendership. We have plenty of girls, not only from the NXT brand, but also from TNA, like The Inspiration, Li Yingling, Xia Brookside, who else was there? Oh yeah, of course, Kalani Jordan was in it too. I wouldn't be surprised if she wants to be double champion. But the one thing that was interesting is how this whole thing ended. Izzy Dane took herself out by accident when she tried to take out, of course, Jordan Grace. But the last person standing was Tatum Paxley, which was rather interesting. And of course, Lyra Valkyria was there to celebrate. But it seems like Izzy Dane was not happy. Not because, Tatum Paxley was the winner, but it's more like, she can't believe that she lost. She felt it should have been her moment, but it is what it is. That's how it ends. So we'll leave things as it is. But as of right now, we're officially done with our reviews. Let's move on with our last and final thing, news up. Okay, so let's begin with some news updates for all of you, starting with upcoming events. So we have JCW, Jersey Championship Wrestling updates for all of you. As you know, later on this month, on the 26th of October, we have Possession at Richfield Park. And of course, they have this match called the Monster Match. And 2 more names have been added to that. We have Jay Lucas and Hunter Drake. And then a month later, on November 23rd, for Home for the Holidays, they announced an interesting 6-person tag match. We have, of course, the cutest in the world, Maki Ito, teaming up with Matt Tremont and Bam Sullivan. They take on Beastman and a couple of guys called the Cosmic Cuties. I don't even know who they are. But yes, so that's pretty much our JCW update. So let's move on to other events as well. As you know, we have the Fantastica Mania UK, the collaboration between, of course, CML and RevPro, possibly New Japan and AEW, and possibly a Ring of Honor. 2 matches have been announced. We have David Francisco and Okamura. They take on JJ Gale and Fuego. And then there's a lightning match between Robbie X and Esfinge. We do have the GCW event, Shotzi Blackheart's House of Horrors, that takes place on the 24th of October, and they announced a casket match between both Charlie Mason and Acticus Cobra. Now that match is gonna be bloody brutal, and I You know how I know? Because they both are crazy as hell, and I think they're trying to prove who is the baddest. So that's going to be one match I'm definitely going to try to see. Then, of course, as you know, Prestige Wrestling will be taking a hiatus, and this is one of their few events. The Big Kiss Goodbye that takes place on the 2nd of November. They announced Ryan Clancy versus Travis Williams. And then, of course, we have the Jericho Cruise that will go from the 7th to the 11th of November of this year. And they announced, no, next year, I think. They announced Elena Black being participate. And then, of course, I kind of messed up on this one, too. Oh, yeah. I'll flip on this one on my notes. Sorry about that. Anyway, we have West Wrestling Revolver with Wrestle Combat on the 21st of November, and they announced Bear Bronson taking place. T-Hearts, which is not a promotion but more of an organization run by Yumiko Hotta, legendary Yoshi wrestler, made this announcement, and she added some. It's going to be a one-day tag team tournament, from what she announced. Let me pull it up right here, and I have it. Yeah, so here's who they have for the. There's divided into. It's going to take place on January 10th, 2026, and they divide it into like the Aces and of course the Young. The Aces. Here's who they have on that side. We have Ryo Mizunami, Dash, Shizako, Hiroya Matsumoto, Suri, Veni, and Chihiro Hashimoto. And the young wrestlers that will be involved, we have Chi-Chi, Honoka, Yuna, Nori, Miria, Koga, and Miku Kane. So I'm going to presume that the Aces will team up with the Young. So we'll see what happens there. So that's pretty much for upcoming events. Now, many of you heard about what happened with Kota Ibushi. He hurt himself during collision during the tapings, and apparently he broke a femur, injured his femur or broke a femur. Let me pull that up real quick. So yes, so basically that's what happened. According to sources, he'll be out between 1 to 2 years to injured, and this is what he had to say: "I believe in myself more than doctors. I absolutely don't believe in that. I know I have an amazing DNA that gives me the ability to heal." So yeah, we know that he's been injured before, and he feels like this is no different. So we'll see how things will progress with them. But as of right now, we are officially done with our reviews. Let's call it a day. Well, I hope everybody enjoys this episode. Coming up, as you probably know, AEW Dynamite will have their go-home show before we head to Wrestle Dream. So anything could happen before then. And I'm pretty sure, as you know, Evolve will have their upcoming event free on Tubi, Secession. So we will see how things will progress. We know that both the men's and the women's Evolve championships will be on the line, and then we do have a bull ropes match, I believe, between Josh Briggs and Tate Wilde. And if there's any other events I'm planning to review, I'll let you guys know. But as of right now, we'll leave things as it is. But until then, I will see you guys in the next DWZ time, same DWZ channel. I must bid all of you adieu. So, goodbye, and have a nice day. Bang!